Hey everyone, my name is Jess Washington, and I'm just here today to encourage you. Share a little bit about my testimony and my experiences I've gone through in hopes that they can help you in your own personal journey. So it isn't long. It's fairly simple in the aspects of, for those who don't know me, ever since the age of 3, I've been a musician. From an early age, I started playing piano, and that's pretty much been my identity, my whole life. And since that age of being trained as a minister of music, serving in ministries as a pianist, traveling to different colleges and universities to compete for different piano competitions and everything like that. I say all that to say that I've been very blessed and fortunate to have the gift of music. And I truly do believe that God has given me a gift of music, not for my own personal enjoyment, but to honestly fulfill people's hearts, to help encourage them with the sound of music that I have. And so it's always a blessing when I'm able to do that. But this past year, um, and this is part of my testimony, but I was let go from a ministry that I called my home church, and I had basically served there as a minister of music on the piano my entire life. And I won't go into the details of what happened, but the gist of it is basically God was calling me into a new season, and obviously some things went down that wasn't right. I was definitely treated unfairly. I felt unheard in the situations that were going on and everything like that. But God was really putting me through that situation to break me down, and he sure enough did that, because when I tell you it hurt a lot, it was a different type of hurt. It was a different type of hurt because not only did it test my faith and my trust in God, but it also shifted my perspective on a lot of different things, in life, as a man, how I view certain things, and like I said, in my own personal faith walk as well, and for God to kind of intervene on my behalf and shift some things around. It definitely wasn't expected, especially in the way that it went down and transpired. Like I said, I was very hurt that things were going down the way they were, because this was a place I had served at all my life and called them family. But nonetheless, I will be transparent. It did put me in a bad mental, emotional state. Like, for weeks I didn't want to look at the piano. I didn't want anything to do with ministry. I was honestly at a point where I was very much mad at God. I was like, look, hey God, this situation seems like it keeps happening to me over and over, and I have such a pure, humble spirit to me to serve in ministry and serve, others. I'm a very selfless person. So why does this keep happening, God? I kept asking God that, and I didn't really get a response. At least a response that I was looking for. Transparency in hindsight. But like I said, I did have my time of transpiraling, and God was really breaking me down. And once I got to the point of truly sitting down, taking a deep breath, and processing everything that I went through, God was able to open my ears, my eyes, and my heart, and just speak to me one-on-one, and just remind me of his promises, through his word, that he has not forsaken me. And I promise you that was big, because it did feel like he wasn't there. I couldn't see him. I just felt like it was just me drowning in the ocean. Like, there was nothing else I could do. And like I said, I wanted nothing to do with ministry. And I'm not gonna say it got to the point where I was becoming an atheist, but it was definitely a point where I was getting to asking myself, is God real? Like, because I don't think God will approve of this nonsense that's going on. Like, there's no way. There's just absolutely no way. Like, for a long time, since a little kid, I've been dedicated. I've been faithful. I've been truthful. And yes, I'm not perfect. I have my slip-ups, but on this particular journey, I've been very precise in allowing God to move through me in this journey that I'm on and in the steps that I'm taking. So how could this happen? And like I said, I was looking at God sideways, and of course, as a minister in music, serving on piano, I was getting compensated for my time and effort. So there was that aspect of things too, of worry of the financial burden. How am I going to support myself financially as I'm still working on pursuing other goals and streams of income in the time being, and I was I was getting a little worrisome. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, hey guys, you're gonna have to make some funds happen, because this was my focus. I believe that your gift will make room for you, right? And my gift was making room for me. It was supporting me financially and really supplying all my needs, not just financially for my household, but in the other areas of my life, And weeks went by of, just kind of sitting down outside of ministry. Like, I didn't have to wake up on the weekends to go serve at a ministry anymore, and that was very hard for me, because that was my routine for my whole life, wake up on the weekends, serve, do my job, and go about my day, right? But for God to kind of be very intentful in sitting me down and stripping those things away from me, it really allowed me to focus on my relationship with God, and really find my identity through Christ outside of ministry. I think sometimes as musicians in ministry, it can be very easy for us to say we have a relationship with God just because we worship through song and praise, but what are you going to do when you don't have that? What are you going to do when you lose your ability to play one day due to old age, or in my situation, not having a place to minister at, right? And so it really allowed me the time of day to just sit down, hear from God, pray, fast, and seek guidance and counsel, from those who are older than me and have been in certain situations, such as the one I've been going through, and God himself, and just to ask for direction and clarity. That's the big thing, clarity on what to do next, right? So I say all that to say that my testimony and all of that is, sometimes God is going to sit you down. Sometimes God is going to strip you down to where you feel like you have nothing, to where you feel heartbroken, you feel helpless, you feel like the world is abusing you. You don't seem to be heard or respected or viewed in the aspect that you should be, right? But at the end of the day, God sees you. And I had to realize that and learn from myself that, look, we're human, right? We make mistakes. Church people aren't perfect, nor am I, right? But at the end of the day, I should not let that dictate my life and how I should move. So if I just allow my attention and focus to stay on God, everything will turn around in my favor. Now, it might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week. It might not happen next year. But it is going to happen if I just continue to have faith and believe. And sure enough, God supplied me with another opportunity to get back in ministry, in Detroit, actually, at Solomon's Cathedral. And when I say that was a hard moment of transition for me, because it was like, look, God, I don't know if I could serve at another ministry, because every ministry something seems to happen. I get done wrong and my feelings get hurt, and I'm tired. I don't have nothing left in the tank. Like, I'm just here. I'm doing the best I can. That's all I'm is. But you're literally going to have to guide me through this process. Hold my hand, because God knows I want to crash out. Okay, God knows my heart. Like, He knows I want to crash out and just say, look, guys, I'm about to cut somebody out up in here. Like, I can't do it no more. And that's just the reality. Like, we all have those moments where we might lose control. We might cut somebody out. We might act out of character. But that's where we just have to say, look, God, before I act, I need you to act. Pray, trust God that He's going to work it out, and go from there. So, like I said, that's my testimony. I'm just really grateful that God is stretching me and pruning me as a young man. And even though I'm in a season of transition right now, I know that God is definitely intervening and interceding on my behalf in other rooms that I don't even know of. So that's my testimony. Hopefully that encourages someone who may be going through the same situation, or, just need that encouragement and that experience that I've gone through. So thank you for listening.